Hi everybody, Zach here, and welcome to the 22nd lesson in this RTS tutorial series. In this lesson, we will finish setting up our Unit HUD. If you haven't already, please go vote on last week's poll with regards to how you want these introduction cards to be done. You'll find it around the second minute of the video. Alright, that said, fire up your editor, and I will see you on the other side. Welcome back to the editor. The first thing we're going to do is add some inputs. So we're going to go into our project settings, and I have no idea why that didn't just open. There we go. And we go down to our input. We're going to add in two new inputs. We're going to add in a left click, which we will not be using in this episode, and a right click. I said episode, I mean lesson, of course. And for the left click, what we're going to name this is our primary action. And this will be, as I said, our left mouse button, which is our left click. And we're going to add a secondary action as well. And we'll be working with our secondary action for the most part in this lesson. And this will be our right mouse button. Alright, remember, it automatically saves, so we don't need to worry about anything there. We just close it straight on out. And what we're going to do next is we're going to go to our player controller. And in our player controller, once I get that open, sorry about that. Don't know why I was about to open my enums folder. In our player controller, what we're going to do is we're going to create a new input here. Or we're going to create a new event. And so we'll type in secondary, and you'll see our action event, secondary action. I know we haven't seen this since earlier in the series when we did our input actions for moving forwards and backwards. So what we're going to do in here is we're going to create a branch to see what we're getting. So what we're going to do on hit, we want to create a branch. Actually, sorry, I said branch. We're going to do something first before we create that branch. We're going to create a Boolean variable. And this is thinking towards the next part of the section. And this Boolean variable is going to be called isUnitSelected. And we're just going to compile. We don't want anything there. We're going to move that to the bool folder there. And we're simply going to drag this into here. And we're going to get. And really this is just checking if we have a unit selected. We're going to do branch. And we're just going to plug it into there. If it is false, if the unit isn't selected, we want it to open up a HUD on, or the HUD on that unit. And you might not want it to be that way, but we're going to say we're going to say that we do want it that way for now. And off of here, we're going to create another branch. So this branch is really our kind of primary one we need to worry about. And what we're going to do is we are going to right click and we're going to get get hit results or hit result, and we want under cursor. We have two options. We have by object and by channel. Well, we want to see our objects. We're going to grab that one. And we're going to back drag off of this just because we need to have something there. And we are going to do promote to variable. And it'll create an enum for us of EQ types selectable or variable. We're just going to name this selectable objects enum. And we are going to move this into our what folder did I put this in my notes? Sorry, give me 1 second. Into our hit, we're going to create a new category, called hit result. And it's just going to go in there. That way we don't have to worry about it too much. And just going to drag that down there a bit. And off our hit results, we're going to break hit result. Just like we've done this before, we want to know, are we hitting a particular thing of any value? What we want to know is, are we hitting an object? And if we are, we're going to open up a certain thing. We're going to open up our HUD, that is. So the first thing we want to do is not equal to. So if this is not null, if we're hitting an object, or an actor in this case, which is a child of object, then we want to have something happen. If this is null, if we're hitting, something that isn't an actor, we don't want anything to happen. And before we can do anything, what we need is we actually need what we want it to do, which is we're going to make a event dispatcher. And what we're going to do is to do that, we're going to go to event dispatcher, and we're just going to just say display unit HUD. And we're just going to drag this out here, set it on the true as a call. Ooh. Just going to double check that it is a call, I believe. Yep, it is. And actually, before we do that, we're going to just highlight this again, and we are going to add in a few different inputs. We're going to add in a hit actor, and this will be of type actor. And we want the one with that full circle there. It'll be a object reference. And what we also want is a boolean, which we bypass. We might need this later on. We don't need it in this episode, but this will be useful if we are heading something we want to bypass some features on. We'll worry about that later, though. We're just going to plug that true into there. And we're going to put a reroute into this hit actor. I'm just going to drag this out here and put that into the hit actor there. And we're just going to drag that down there. Alright, there we go. We're going to save that and new param selectable enum. Right, so kind of expected that error to come up. I'm not sure why we're getting an error here. Oh, you know why we're getting an error there? Because it hasn't updated this node correctly. So we're just going to refresh the node. We're going to hit compile again, and both errors should vanish. I had this happen in my test file. I remember that came up. I forgot about this for a second. We're going to save, and the next thing we're going to do is then we are going to go into our unit, and in our unit we are going to set up certain, we're going to call the HUD. So to do so, as I said, we're going to go into our unit, and we have our birthday, we have our birthday check as a custom event. We need a new custom event, which will be, we're just going to go down here, we're going to do right click, custom event, and we'll name this custom event display unit HUD. And off of this, what we want is our actor and our bypass. So we are going to type in actor. We aren't going to set the type yet, and we're just going to type in bypass. And the reason why we aren't setting our type yet is so we don't have to set bypass. And we're just going to type in actor again, and it will be that circle. It will be an object reference. This is where that bypass we just made kind of comes into play. Off of here, we're going to drag out a bit and put in branch. We need a fair amount of room. So I'm going to just drag out of here and just put in an and real quick, because I know it's going to be a boolean and. And the first thing we want to do is we want to know, did it hit this unit? So off actor, what we're going to do is we're going to do equal equal, and we want to know, is it equal to itself? Because this is an actor. It is a child of an actor, at least as a character. And that's the first thing we want to check. The next thing we want to know is, do we have a bypass? But we're not going to plug that directly into here. Again, we're going to think towards the future. We are going to have our actors vanish when they go into the car, for example, or to the tank, or whatever you're using. I'll be using a car. So when that happens, they're going to be hidden. So we want to know, are they hidden or not? So we're going to do is hidden. This will be, of course, a boolean reference, or a boolean category. We're going to drag this out. And before we do anything else, we're going to drag off of here and type in not. So we want to know, are they not hidden? And then off this bypass, what we're going to do is we're going to type in OR. So what we're saying here is either we had a bypass selected, which we can set in the player controller, or they are not hidden. And then we want to plug that into the AND. So we want to know, have we hit a unit master or a child of a unit master? And is it hidden? Is it not hidden, sorry, or at least we have a bypass if it is hidden. And if that is true, so if both conditions are satisfied, then we want to display our HUD. Now, of course, we need to cast a reference to our HUD, so we're going to go back up to our reference casts. And in our reference casts, we're going to create our HUD reference. So just unselect that output, and we're just going to drag out a tiny bit here. And we're going to do create widget. I don't know why I was typing in the name of the particular widget. And we're going to do unit info. We have our unit info HUD. And we are going to add one more thing to our unit info HUD before we go any further. We're just going to pause there for a second. We are going to go into our HUD. I'm not sure why the textures got highlighted like that. I hate when that happens. So if we go into our blueprints and go into our widgets, we'll open up our unit info HUD, and we are going to create in this a new variable. So if you go to your graph, in here we're going to create a reference variable, and if you remember, we don't ever cast to these reference variables. They are just passed in. So this will be a unit ref. It'll be of type references, and it will be a unit master. So if I go into the Boolean, type in RTS unit master, I want the object. We're going to compile that real quick. We're going to go back here, and we're going to just refresh this node. Oh, sorry, I skipped a step actually. We want to, not only do we want to completely expose this one. Sorry about that. Compile and save that. Now go back here and refresh this node. Now we have our unit reference. Again, the unit that it's referring to is the particular instance of the unit master or its child. So again, we want a reference to self. And we'll just leave that in there. We're not going to put anything for owning player in because, you know, you might be able to see an enemy unit. You want to see what details you can see there. We'll do some other stuff to affect the HUD with regards to enemy units. And we are going to then set this as our HUD reference. So we're going to drag up of here. We're going to do promote to variable, and this will be HUD unit, HUD underscore unit ref. Sorry, it took me a minute to actually remember how I named this. And that will go into our outputs now. We'll compile that and save it. We'll go back to our event graph, and before we go any further in our event graph, what we're going to do is we're going to put some stuff off of here. Sorry, when I say any further, I'm referring to the stuff down there. Before we do anything in the new feature we've added, what we want to do is we want to bind event, and we're going to bind it to display. Actually, sorry, we can't do it that way. We have to bring in our reference. We have to go back in here, actually, and that controller reference, which for some reason... Oh, sorry, I didn't move this into references like I thought I did, so I was very confused there. So, sorry about that. Go back into here. We're going to get our controller reference, so get, and we are going to bind event to display unit HUD. We'll tag that into there. We're just going to move this up a tiny bit. In fact, I'm going to add a reroute into here. Unselect the sequence, move this up, just have a tiny bit more room, and so it looks a little bit neater. And off our event, what we're going to do is we're going to do an event dispatcher, create event, and we've already started the event, so we're just going to go to unit, display unit HUD actor bypass, compile, save, and now we're going to go back down here. So now that we've done our reference to our HUD, down here, now we've done our reference to our HUD, we can actually display it. So grab your HUD reference, get it, and then we're going to add to viewport. We're going to put that into there. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to grab our controller reference again. We're going to get it. And we are going to drag up to here, and we're going to do set input mode. And we're going to do set input mode user interface only, UI only. And we're just going to attach that into there. And we're not going to do anything else in here. But what we are going to do is we're going to drag this down just a tiny bit. So I like to put one reroute node into here. I'm just going to drag that reroute node out slightly first. And we're going to drag out this way. And we want to get our HUD time, HUD game time reference. The reason why we're getting this is with both HUDs activated, we can run into some issues. So we're going to sort of tweak how, when the unit HUD opens, how this HUD works. And I realize there are more widgets and HUDs. And we are going to just drag off of this, and we are going to do set is enabled. We still want this to work, and we want this one to work as well. I'm just going to attach that there. Is enabled selected. We're going to compile and save. And let's just very quickly make sure this works. Oh, sorry, actually, let's go back to our unit controller. And just want to make sure we have everything in there we need. Yep, we do. We have everything we need in terms of our unit HUD setup outside of the actual information. So if we go in here, and we hit play, and we spawn in a unit, and we right click. Alright, well, that's a good moment for a debug. Let's see what happens when we do this. We're just going to put a add breakpoint there. We're going to right click. We're going to skip a frame. And we are getting a interesting. We're going to stop for a second. We are going to remove that breakpoint. We're going to go to our unit master here, and we are just going to put one on this breakpoint or add breakpoint on this branch for a second. Let play again. We'll spawn a unit in. Alright, so indeed the issue seems to be in our player controller. So let's just take a look at this, make sure that this is correct. And we are saying is it's like we're getting past there. It's getting here and saying that it is not a valid unit. So why might that be? What we're going to do is we are going to just simply just double check that this is correct. Self trace complete, and we want to know, is it not equal to a null? It is not equal to a null. Yeah, that should work actually. Right. So again, we're going to put in a breakpoint here. We'll hit play one more time. Spawn that character in. For some reason, we are getting a false off of this. Right. So, just going to double check that it is set up correctly. This is set up correctly. Well, so we know our right click is working. We know that it's getting to at least this point, and it's not seeing our actor correctly. Let's go back to our unit master for a second. Just going to save that as well. We know that it's not getting into this branch at all. So let's just double check our reference cast to make sure everything in there is correct. Actually, we did skip a step. Highlight everything here. Move it this way. What we're going to do is we are going to... Oh, sorry, no we didn't. Undo that. Move it back. We're going to set the ZOR on this one to 1. There we go. We are still going to check our reference cast to make sure everything in there is correct. So we do want it as a controller reference. We do want it as the bind display unit. compile that, by the way, and what it's calling up is this. And you know what I realized? Nope, that is right, it is a call. So never mind, I was supposed to say it shouldn't be a call. Let's go into there for a second. So we have our game state, which we're getting. We're making a reference to it. We're getting our control. Wow. So, delete that. There's our issue. That's one of our issues. We are going to do get player controller compile, and then just going to make sure everything else is right now that I've seen that. So our unit reference is itself. It's a HUD ref. Let's try it now. We're just going to control S save real quick. We'll spawn something in, and we will right click. Interesting. Alright, I'm going to end that real quick. I'm going to just disable the breakpoint. I'm going to hit play, and I'm going to spawn that unit in. Sorry, I'm just moving the pie editor off to the side for a second. What I want to do is I want to get the controlling on debug. Interesting. So if we hit play again, spawn that unit in, and it's now popping up. I am not sure why that wasn't working. As you can see, we have no functionality though, but that still works. Alright, let's close that out. I'm sorry about that. I'll make a note to try to figure out what just went wrong there and why it started working randomly. So what we need to do now is we need to give functionality to this actual HUD. And to do so, we're going to very quickly go into our unit info HUD there. And we've already done a lot of this before, so you should be very familiar with it. We are going to select the name box. And in the name box, we are going to then bind the text. We'll create a new reference there, which we will rename as get unit name. And I'm going to put this in a category known as unit header, because it's the head of the HUD. And get unit name is fairly simple. All we're going to do is we're going to get our unit reference, which we're passing through the unit master into this HUD. And we're going to get the structure, or sorry, the profile, which is a structure. Why can't I find anything I'm looking for? There we go. Get unit profile. And we are going to split this structure pin. We're going to grab that name, plug it into there. We're going to compile and save. We'll go back to the designer, and on where it says female, we'll do bind. We'll create a binding for that will be get unit sex. This will be of unit. Actually, hang on. We're going to do what we did last time. We're going to just leave that as is for a second. We're going to come back into this. And under this header, we are just going to put in that line. And in our default, we're going to move unit sex into, oops, sorry about that, into unit, that line again, details. And in our unit details, or in our get sex, what we are going to do is we are going to very simply get our reference again, drag it into here. We are going to target our unit sex, and from there, we're actually going to need to break that. We're going to move this up here for a minute. We are going to create a local reference to it, which will be unit sex. Don't want to keep calling this that E every time I do this. Unit sex local. Plug in the get unit sex into there, and we're going to create a branch. This branch will determine the gender of our unit. But before we go any further, we'll create a new variable here, which will be unit sex text local, and this will be of type string. And we're going to set 1 on the true, and we're going to set 1 on the false as well. And on the condition here, we're going to grab our unit sex local, we're going to get it, and so we have two options. We're not going to do greater than, we're just going to do equal. We want to know, is it equal to 0, where 0, remember, is male. So we're going to plug that into there. If it is equal to male, then it comes up here, and we're going to name this male. And if it's not, it's going to go down to the false, and we'll name it female. Now, the next thing that happens is we're going to take this return node. We're just going to plug it into one of these for now. We'll duplicate it in a minute. Plug that into there. And we're going to grab our unit sex local text. We're going to get it. And we're just going to plug that into there. And sorry, I'm just going to move that out a little bit further. Move that into there. And we're going to highlight all that. We're going to duplicate it and bring it down here. Plug that in. Compile, save, go back to your designer. And in your designer, the next thing we're going to grab is age. And we're going to bind on that, of course, as well. And we're going to do get unit age. And this will go into our unit details folder. And I'm now just want to double check something I've done here. I have made a mistake in the setting of the HUD up, which we will correct in a second. Sorry about that. So this video might be a little bit longer than usual. I just kind of realized the mistake I made. We are going to grab our, not background, our unit reference. And off of this, we are going to get our unit age. So get unit age. Again, we're going to promote this to a local variable. So this will be unit age local. We're going to come up there. We're just going to clean this up a tiny bit. Wow, I didn't mean to move that. Plug that pin into there. Plug that into the output. And we're going to take this unit age local. We're going to bring it down here. We're going to get it. Plug it into the return. And what we're going to do is we're going to extend this out. And we're just make sure grouping is selected. It is. So we can just leave that as is. We're going to compile and save. Go back to the designer, and let's clean up a mistake I made earlier. Highlight this text box, delete it. What we are going to do instead is we're going to have multiple text boxes there. Actually, sorry, don't delete that. Put that back in. Delete everything outside of this. This will be outside the 31. This will be unit. So this will be birth date text. We'll drag it. We'll just actually duplicate that. Duplicate it. Duplicate it. We're going to need one more duplication. But just to save ourselves time, we'll put in a backward slash there. So this will be birthday spacer 1. If you can hear my dog snoring in the background, sorry. We'll make this one the 12. And we're going to duplicate this one more time. We'll make this our birthday spacer 2. This will be our birth month text. This final one will be our birth year text, and this will still be 1955 for our filler text. There we go. And we're going to just make our size box a little bit bigger. As you can see, the text is already coming out of there. So to do so, we'll grab that details box, and we're just going to drag it out a tiny bit. And I'm fine with that. We're going to select our day, and we're going to create a new binding there. And this will be our get birth date. Sorry, I spelled birth wrong. Get birth date text. And just drag that out there. Unhook that pin. We're going to need a little bit of more room, actually. We're going to get our unit reference again. We are going to get our we want our get birthday. And I just want to make sure I used age in here and not something else by mistake. Yeah, we use unit age, good. And we're just going to repeat this process throughout the other ones. And we're going to do, sorry, I don't know why I did bind there. I don't know if I was trying to type in bind. We're going to do promote local variable. Undo that, because that wasn't a local. Promote local variable. And we're going to do birth date local. Actually, I should do birthday local, but in my test file, because for some reason birthday didn't work, as I said in an earlier video, I've used birth date. And for some reason, I'm just seeing that convention here as well suddenly. We're going to do directly into there. What we're going to do is what Flex showed us earlier, is that 2 and 2 there. We're going to unselect grouping, even though it won't actually matter because it's only 2 values or 2 digits. We're going to compile, save, go back to the designer, grab this 31 that's over here and change it into a proper spacer. There we go. We can actually have made that smaller now. We can size this back down. And grab that 12. We're going to bind, and this will be get birth month. So I get birth month text. And while I'm thinking about it, we're going to just put that back into our unit details, and this will be in our unit details as well. Now, in our birth month, we're going to do the same thing we literally just did. And in fact, I'm going to save us some time by going in here. We're just going to highlight. Actually, no, we're not. That doesn't save time because we don't have the references we need, unfortunately. Sorry about that. Grab that. We'll do birth month. We're going to get it. We're going to promote to local variable. This will be birth month local. Drag it up there. Plug it into there. Plug it into there. Line it up so it looks a little bit neater. And then get down there. Plug it into there. And again, we're going to use that 2-digit format. So again, unselect grouping, min number, max number, both set to 2, compile, save, go back to your graph, and then do the same thing for year. So this is going to be get birth year text. And again, drag this one out there a bit. Get our reference to our unit. And unlike the other one, we're actually going to have a different to text from integer setup. We are going to have it with 4 digits, and we're going to do get birth year. We are going to promote this to a local variable, which will be birth year local. Plug that into there. Just going to move that to line up correctly. Plug that into the return node, and just going to drag these up and move this a little bit over. Get your birth year local, put it there. Sorry, put it a little bit closer. Plug it into this. We're going to open this up. We're going to get rid of grouping again because now we actually does matter for us. We have 4 digits we're going to put in. We're just going to set that nicely there. We're going to compile and save. And we have one more to do, which is our image. So what we're going to do here is we are going to, in our image, we are going to create a binding here. We'll create binding, and this will be, sorry, before we rename that, let's move this into details. We will do F2 there, get unit image, and I'm going to put this in a new category called unit, and then this image. And this is just like the name. We are going to take it from our structure, or our profile, again, which is a structure. So type in profile. We want to get our unit profile. We want to split this function, if I can actually split it. There we go. And we're going to drag from this unit profile image, or unit profile unit image. The unit's just added in the front because of where it's coming from. Compile, save, and that should actually set us. So if we go back in here, we hit play, we spawn a unit in, and we right click. We now have the date was spawned in. If you remember, it's going to spawn in on that day. We have the age, we have the gender, and we have the name. So let's just speed this up. Actually, we skipped a step. So let's end that real quick. Let's go back into here. We have one more thing to do. I forgot to set functionality on this close button. And to do so, we're going to go back into our graph. This is go back into your editor, scroll down here, and hit on pressed. And when it's on pressed, what we're going to do is we are going to tell it to close. So to do so, what we want first off is to delete these 3 nodes at the top there. We want to get a reference to our unit again. We want to get a reference from there to our controller, because remember we've cast a reference to it. And so we want to get our controller reference, so we don't have to cast again. And we are going to set game mode UI, sorry, game mode and UI. Plug into there. We don't want to change anything else in here, but we want to remove this widget from the screen. So we're going to drag off of here and we're going to remove from parent. And it's a reference to itself. We're going to compile and save. Oops, sorry, not compile and play. We're compile and save. And very quickly go back into your time HUD just to make this a little bit easier on ourselves. We're going to go in here and we're going to set this bound to 0.0025, which yes means we'll have that horrendous flashing sun. So we'll go in here, we'll spawn a unit in. Again, we can see we have Alexis Davis, female, 52, born on February 14th. And then if you take that number, add it there, you'll get 2019. We're going to just move the camera, which we can't while we're in this mode, but let's just see if we can close it out. We can. So let's select that unit again. Let's speed this up. That isn't as fast as I want it to be. That'll take way too long for this, so we're going to add in a couple extra zeros there. Compile and play. Spawn the unit in. Now we have Charlie Blackwell, 64. And we're going to just do that. Sorry about the lots of flashing lights there, but we should see that raise to 65. In fact, while that's happening, what we're going to do is we're just going to go into our player controller, not our player controller, sorry, we're going to go into our, oh, we're watching a lot of flashes still, sorry about that. We're going to go into our game state, and we're going to go into our event graph, and we're seeing this is firing again every tick. So we know that's working still quite nicely. We'll go back in here. There we are. We're now in 2020, and you'll see he's aged to 65. So we know that's working. All right, that brings us to the end of this lesson. In the next lesson, we will begin setting up our marquee select, which will probably take multiple videos actually, because I was just looking over how complex it is in terms of explanation. So if there's anything you'd like to see in this video outside of no more flashing lights like that, but now that we know that's working, we can reset it. Drop a comment down below. And if you like this video, make sure to hit that like icon so that I know I'm bringing you content that you value. And so that this tutorial, of course, gets out to more people. Alright, I'll see you guys on next Monday in the next lesson. And as always, I hope that you have a wonderful day.